G'day, it's Professor Joseph Drew here, and I'm here to talk to you this time about how to excel at university. If you're just starting a university course as an undergraduate coursework, this is the video for you. Now, it's always important you find out the bona fides of a person before you listen to their advice. There's lots of free advice out there, and most of it's worth what you pay for it. I did excel at university. In my undergraduate, I had a GPA of 7 out of 7. It's the highest you can get. I was a university medalist. In my master's, I had a GPA of 7 also. In my PhD, I got a prestigious award. So I know what it takes to excel. But also, as a university professor, I've been on the other side of the lectern for many, many years, and I've watched carefully the students who do well and tried to find out and try to understand what the qualities are that make them succeed so much. So what does success look like? What are you in here for? Are you here just because you have a thirst for knowledge? That's what I'd like to hear. That's what a lot of people coming out of near-death experiences and the like, they just want to learn. They have a drive to learn. That's what most people as children are like. When my children were young, and still my youngest child just wants to learn anything, everything, because this is a natural state of people. This is what we were created to do, to learn and to perfect our intellect, because your intellect is the only thing that can possibly survive your whole life and perhaps even survive after life. So if you have a thirst for learning, you're probably going to be just fine. But maybe you've got a vocational objective. Maybe you just want to get a job. Well, first piece of advice is make sure your course leads to a job. It's often said that there's 400 law graduates for every law job. Bachelor of Arts degrees don't necessarily lead to jobs, same with Bachelor of Science degrees. But specific vocational degrees such as teaching and nursing and medicine, pharmacology, they do lead to specific jobs. So if the objective is to get a better job, make sure you're doing a degree that will actually land a job. Go and have a look. How many jobs are there out there for an undergraduate with your qualification? What are the other requirements? It's not just a degree. Generally, there's a society that runs and regulates your particular profession. What are their requirements? How many extra hours of experience do you have? What other hoops do you have to jump before you can actually start doing that job? Check all those things out first before you start uni, please. Do you have what it takes? Do you have the time commitment? University for me was always a 10-hour day, 5 days a week. I used to try to take the weekend off. I certainly took the Saturday off because that was my holiday. Do you have that type of time? Do you have that type of commitment? Have you got the self-discipline that'll see you sitting on a chair, working and studying and doing extra readings for 10 hours a day? Because if you don't, you're probably not going to excel. Do you have the basic skills that you need? The mathematics skills and the English skills. If you don't have those skills, you'll need to do some work before you start uni. They're not skills that you can catch really, really quickly on the run while you're learning an awful lot of other things. Now, on that note, often if you're studying a course that has subjects that you never studied at high school, the first semester of that course is usually year 11 and 12 put together. So for instance, when I did my Master's of Commerce, I'd never studied economics at high school. The first subject I took on economics was essentially the year 11 and 12 course all rolled into one short 12-13 week semester. It was heavy duty to catch up. If you've done it before at school, of course it's just revision. If you haven't done it before, you're really going to have to work very hard to get on top of 2 years work in about 13 weeks, but it's doable. I got 7s in the subject and went on to do a PhD in economics, so it's clearly doable. And are you fit to think? If you haven't watched my video on being fit to think, I strongly suggest you do. I wish I'd been told all those things many years ago. I'm here to share knowledge with you because I want you to flourish as a person and have the advantages that I didn't have. So qualities of good students, from my observations of looking at who are my best students over many years, these are the things that I notice. My good students are ones that always turn up to lectures. You notice them. They always turn up to tutorials. Now, if you're not turning up to tutorials, you're absolutely mad. Your tutor, if you get a good tutor, is like your friend. Their sole job is to help you do well in this subject. The tutorials are possibly more important than the lectures. My good students read, and I know they've read because they ask me questions about their reading. Not just the prescribed readings, that's what I expect, but they've gone beyond what I've told them to read. And it's so easy now with online university catalogues. It's not like in the olden days when you had to look up the paper journals and photocopy them. Now you just put in the topic, lots of appropriate papers will be spat out, print them up, read them. It's not that hard. We did it in the olden days, and that's why we excelled. My good students are always asking questions, and well thought out questions that reflect the fact that they've been doing their readings, they've listened to the lectures, and they've been thinking about this topic. And invariably my good students form a little peer group of other good students, and they help each other. They proofread each other's work, they answer and ask each other's questions, they talk about the topic, and it's in talking out loud about the topics that we really start to crystallize our understanding. People will pick up on your misconceptions and you're actually forced to articulate how you conceive of something. So those peer groups are very, very important. So parting advice, and these are things I tell my own children: speak out loud. You think about all the spelling words you read as a youngster. Look, cover, say, and check. If it was good enough to get you to learn how to spell in English, it'll be good enough to get you to learn just about anything. And in fact, there's a body of work based on the work of the scholar Vygotsky, who was a Russian, that looked at the aphasiacs, people that couldn't talk, and compared their learning to regular people that can talk. And he showed that speech is incredibly important for building the connections in your mind to assimilate and retain facts. You just can't get around it. Now, you might feel a bit silly talking to yourself. Well, I'd rather feel silly than fail. And in fact, I still speak things out loud. I talk out loud my problems, and my little dachshund that sits behind me in the office here must be the most educated dachshund in the world on matters of economics and natural law philosophy. But it works, and that's why I do it. Problematize. Good students are always looking for problems in what they read, and when you're looking for problems, you're concentrating more, and once again you're building links between knowledge you already have and knowledge that you're just acquiring, and that's what will help you to retain it long term. My good students constantly seek to apply their new knowledge to their life, and this is what I do all the time. I live natural law, I live economics, and I talk about it at the dinner table with my children and tell them how they can apply it in their life. And we think about problems with it and talk about how we can change things to reflect what we're learning. When you live knowledge, you don't have to remember it. It's like the knowledge about where you live and where your car keys are and everything else, because you're living it and doing it all the time. It just is naturally retained. And be open to criticism, particularly in the first couple of subjects. If you've got good lecturers and tutors, they'll teach you the skills of how to do university. And in fact, you should not only be taking on board criticism and asking questions, but actually going out of your way to seek criticism and feedback, because that's the only way you're going to learn. Most of us mere mortals learn by getting feedback of people who are more expert than us in a topic. So in conclusion, look, you can succeed at university, but it's all about you and your attitude and how much work you're willing to put into things. You know, when I was talking about the 10-hour days I did as a student, what I didn't say was every night I packed shelves at Woolworths. I was a night filler in order to earn the money to get through university. I didn't have the support of family and things like this. So if I could do it, you can do it. There's nothing to stop you from doing it if you have the commitment and the drive and you put into place those simple little things that I suggested. Thank you very much for your time and best of luck. Goodbye.